I'm really excited to share with you our newest online platform called Lightning Docs. So Lightning Docs is a web-based system that we've been creating for 4 years internally, and it permits our clients to use our loan documents, the same exact automation, the same exact software, and the same exact loan documents that you can expect from Jurasi Law Firm, you can use with the touch of a button. And I'm going to show you how that works today. So as we see here up on the screen, there's nothing to download, there's no desktop application, it's a website. And here's the website here. Once you go to the website, you'll have your own username and password that we'll provide over to you. And the benefit of this is that you can access all of your files anywhere, anytime. It's a cloud-based system. You could access this from your cell phone, from an iPad, or any computer anywhere. All you would need is your own username and password to access those files. I'm going to go ahead and log in as an administrative user. So what I will see here will look a little different than what you will see as a casual user. Specifically, I will get to see every single file that's worked on in the system at the exact same time. So what we see here is the current pipeline of people who are using the system right now. And you can see as recently as 8 minutes ago, we have users using the system. And these are all active files that different people who are on the system currently are using. And so the way you start a new loan document set is you effectively go over here and you create a new work item. Rather than watching or having you watch me manually click through and type in a bunch of information, I've got a preloaded file here with information sitting in it, and I'll show you a lot of the functionality of the system. So the general premise is that you do what's called launch an interview. And so when you launch the interview, this is where you're going to have all the loan terms that you would expect when you're completing a set of loan documents. And this is a good opportunity to discuss kind of how the system was constructed and designed. We talked about it earlier, but this system is actually the exact same software we use at Jurasi Law Firm. And one of the things that I wanted to do when building out this system was I wanted to make sure that we asked the fewest numbers of questions possible, and we let the computer do as much calculating as possible here. So for example, the only time you will ever really enter a date is here for the document date. This document date will generate the per diem interest date, it'll generate your first payment date, it'll generate your maturity date. If there are unique dates such as prepayment penalty dates or prepaid interest dates, it'll calculate those dates as well. It'll display those dates in the documents, even though it's never going to ask you for that payment date. It'll never say is what's the first payment date or what's the maturity date. It's going to take this date and turn it through calculations and computations into other dates. And that's how this system was designed, because I wanted to make sure that we took out as much user error as possible in the construction of this. When using the system, the user will have these little balloons that you will see, these little idea light bulbs. And on the light bulbs, if you ever have questions as you're going through and understands, well, what does document date mean? When you select that light bulb here, it states specifically, it's the date on which the loan documents will be signed. Right? So we want to make sure that what we thought was clear may not necessarily be clear. And in addition to that, we also have a user guide, which all of our users have, which have step-by-step instructions which go into great detail about how to use each of the functions that are built within here. So this system is designed to be extremely robust. We can do all sorts of types of collateral. So I've got the click down here of 1 to 4 family. You may have a multifamily, commercial real estate, or land. And it can change, and based on this, it'll determine is what disclosures do I want to use. It'll create additional fields. And so one of the really interesting things about the system is that it's completely dynamic. This is going to ask you the fewest number of questions possible, and it will dynamically change the number of questions it asks you as you've answered it. So scrolling through this dialog here, you've got common stuff that you would expect. So for example, what's your loan number? We'll do a little bit smaller loan here because $12 million is probably a little bit more than your average user is going to use on here, but it could do a $12 million loan. So your loan amount, your interest rate, your default interest rate, how the term of the month, the term of the loan. So is it a 12-month loan or a 360-month loan? And then it's got all sorts of different product types as well. So for example, you could have a fully amortized loan, an ARM loan, a partially amortized loan, interest only for those bridge products. And we've also got a fixed interest only, then fully amortized. So for example, for a lot of rental products, and I'll kind of show you how that works here, is for rental products, you may have a interest only period, you might be fully amortized within the arm, you might have a fixed interest only, then fully arm. It might be a 7-1 arm that then fully amortizes out. So we've really tried to encapsulate all the different products that our customers use. And the beautiful part of the system as well is, to the degree that there is something that we haven't built, we can easily build it. It's a very flexible and customizable system. Continuing with that concept of asking you the fewest questions possible, what you'll see here when I'm going through this dialogue is the next question that it is asking me is there a guarantor in this loan? Right now I've got this radioed to no. If you look over here on the left-hand side, what you're going to see is a dialogue page asking you about the lender, about the borrower, about the property. But if you notice, there's nothing about a guarantor. Once I radio this over to yes, all of a sudden it has a guarantor dialogue. And so it's showing you how dynamic this interview process is going to be for you. Again, asking you the fewest number of questions as possible to produce a perfect set of loan documents. As we scroll through here, you'll see different typical loan terms. So we call these radio buttons. So these are all the things that when we've prepared the loan documents, we thought to ourselves, what are the most common features that we want all clients to have access to? But in addition to that, we've built some incredible real custom work out here that we hide behind other screens that I'll show you in a little bit. But here are the most common features. So the first one is interest holdback, or prepaid interest or prepaid payments. And it'll ask you how many months of prepaid payments are in this loan. And this is really cool. I'll show you a little bit of the date calculations that we discussed above when we look at the actual loan documents. But in this loan, I've got 3 months of prepaid payments. If you've got a construction loan, it's going to ask you what's the construction holdback, and it'll populate a series of construction documents by simply just typing in the construction holdback amount, including draw schedules and a lot of compliance language that you would need for that. The next question here is prepayment penalties. So is there one in the first place? And if there is, for a lot of rental programs, we have a sliding scale of 3-2-1, which means 3% in the first year, 2% in the second year, and 1% in the third year is the penalty. You could have that as the option, or you could just state as, this is going to be a 6-month prepayment penalty. And that's how this loan that we'll do is going to be constructed. Next common feature is a lot of people want the ability to have automatic extensions. If you said no, the loan documents will default to the fact that there is no great option or no direct option to extend. And if you selected yes, it's going to say it's great. How many extensions will you offer? So there's 2 extensions. The extensions will extend the loan for a period of 6 months each, and the cost of doing so is going to be 1% or 1 point. For those of you that broker loans and want to use the system to broker loans to multiple investors, we have what's called Exhibit A. Exhibit A simply states that rather than stating who the lender is, it will reference an Exhibit A, and whenever you're ready to get that final list together, because oftentimes what you will have is the investors change or the amount they invest will change, and so rather than trying to continuously change who the lenders are, you can just state as, look, I just want an Exhibit A for now, and when it comes time to closing, I'll just attach my list right before the closing document. So that's Exhibit A. You've got common features such as, is there a tax holdback? Is there going to be an insurance holdback? Or do you have a combination? Is it an impound account holdback there? Moving forward is a lot of our clients like to use ACH. So you've got ACH as an option here. And then there's also an option here for an assignment and launch. So a lot of times in this marketplace, what's happening is you've got an originator who's funding, and there's also, they want to assign either at the closing table or they know they're going to sell the loan shortly after closing. So it'll print an assignment and a launch for you as part of the loan package. We've pre-programmed as much as we can in here. So for example, the next question that we're going to deal with is loan servicer. When asking about the loan servicer, we've pre-programmed a couple common loan servicers that our clients oftentimes use. Let's say, for example, you're using FCI. This will go ahead and populate all the address information. In the loan documents, you'll see that it'll state where payments are to be sent to for FCI. But to the degree that we haven't identified the servicer you like to use, or there is simply no loan servicer because you'll be self-servicing this loan, you can select Other, which will let you put in whatever you want, or No loan servicer because you're going to service your own loan. In the next dialog page, we have the lender's information. And so here, as you can see, is that you can easily add multiple lenders. So for those of you that like to fractionalize deals with multiple beneficiaries, you can add as many lenders as you want, and it's just going to keep asking you, well, how much is that lender investing? If there's just one lender, you can leave this blank. So enter the lender's information on this dialog. Very straightforward. The next section here is something that we are really proud of when we spend a lot of time building, because as a law firm, we do a lot of really complex transactions. We've got situations where you have, multiple sub-entity borrowers, you have really complex signing patterns, and this is where I think most software ultimately fails, because they weren't thinking about preparing loan documents when they created it. They were probably, either servicing software or some other purpose, but even the other loan document services that I've seen, such as LaserPro or DocMagic or other really great software providers, they tend to skirt this issue because it's a really complex one, which is how do you deal with complex signatures? And so in this scenario that I'm using here in this sample that I'm showing you, is that you have a sample borrower, which is an LLC here in California, but the person signing on behalf of this LLC is a company called Sub Borrower LLC, and they are also a California LLC as the managing member. This system here, and if you see there's toggles, this system here is seeking and saying, unless you tell me that the person signing is an individual, I know that I have to find an individual who's eventually going to sign these documents, because some human has to sign at the end of the trail. But because you selected LLC, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to keep pushing for more information from you, but I'm also going to create a corporate authorization for this LLC. I'm also going to create a corporate authorization for this LLC. And so rather than taking me to the next dialog here into notice information, because it has identified the LLC here as a managing member, it's going to say is great, I need to know about who's signing on behalf of Sub Borrower LLC, the managing member. And so here I've got two sample signers. You've got Michelle, an individual, and Nema, an individual. And because these people are showing as individuals, it's no longer going to ask me about further signature authority. And so what we're saying is we've got individuals and we sign as managers on behalf of Sub Borrower LLC, which was the managing member of Sub Borrower LLC. Or sorry, Sample Borrower LLC. And then it's always going to ask you about owners to create those corporate authorizations that we already discussed. Next page here, pretty self-explanatory. Basically, where do you want notice to be sent to? Where should notice be sent to your borrower? Where should notice be sent to your lender? Effectively is when you need to send your statements, where should they send you any sort of correspondence? Next page here is the property dialog. The property dialog is where we also put a lot of R&D work into this. So as you type through, fairly straightforward. What's the property address? What state? What county? What city is this place in? But as you can see here, you can do multiple things. First, and we'll take you back for a second here into the borrower dialog. If you notice, you can have multiple borrowers. You can have one borrower, 5 borrowers. It doesn't care. It's flexible. It can permit you to have multiple borrowers, multiple lenders. And going into properties, you can have multiple properties. You can cross-collateralize your properties. And the system is designed to be smart. And so it's going to look for association. First, it's going to state is every time you give me a property, who owns the property? So I only have one borrower here, so it's showing my sample borrower. But if there were multiple borrowers, it would ask you, well, who owns this property? And if the borrower and the property are in the same county, then it's going to state, oh, great, I should create one security instrument, either a deed of trust or a mortgage. If they are in different counties, or one borrower owns one and another borrower owns the other, then it will automatically create different deeds of trust or security instruments. Then you've got this here, which shows you first, second, third, fourth. This shows you the lien priority. So it's designed and will create customized documentation language associated with your lien position. So for example, if I said we were in second, it's going to ask you about, well, tell me about the information about the first, because I want to make sure you get a request for notice from the first. Next, we've got governing law and licensing. You know, Jurasi got its roots as a law firm that was going to specialize in the representation of non-conventional lenders nationwide. And so there's a lot of complex issues such as usury and other nationwide compliance issues. And so oftentimes, as a lender, it will be advantageous to use a different governing law in your loan documents than of the property jurisdiction. And so, for example, a lot of our California clients like to use California law for usury purposes, and will use, you know, for example, Minnesota when they're lending in Minnesota for the property jurisdiction. And so you can separate it out, and it will create a separation of language in there. Then you've also got information about whether there's a broker involved in the transaction. And if you're a California finance lender here, it's going to produce specific disclosures for you based on that. Next, you've got lender's instructions, and another thing where we put a ton of R&D into is preparation of extremely sophisticated, very tight, and very protective instructions to the closing agent. You've got a drop down here for escrow and title or just title. And it's going to just ask you information that you're all probably aware of. So for example, you know, what's the title order report number, what exceptions can be or should be deleted, and what endorsements do you need. And this is really what separates what I would say is the services of the law firm and the use of our doc generation system. We wanted to solve our clients' needs and their problems. And that's what we were really focusing on here when we were doing this. And so we heard loud and clear from our customer base that sometimes there's money, you know, in a larger transaction, it makes sense to use the law firm. But in these really small transactions, you know, borrowers are actually really fighting over a $200 or $300 or $500 fee. And there's no room for that. And so our clients were letting us know, look, I've got sophistication enough, I can read a title report and I can know what exceptions I want off or what endorsements I want. And in those instances, it makes sense, and we can let our clients go on here and complete it for themselves. And they have the same doc so they can sleep at night. But separately, what we also wanted to do was maybe you don't have that level of comfort, right? We're here as a law firm to support you in whatever that looks like. And so there may be portions where you'll say, look, I actually want you to figure out who's going to be the signer party here. Or I need your help looking at the title report. And we can act as a supplement to what you're doing, and you can have the choice. We wanted to make sure that we empowered our clients to make whatever choice that made sense for them and be able to partner with them no matter what they were trying to accomplish. And so this shows you a little bit of the hybrid of where lawyers typically come in but don't have to. As we continue to go along here, you've got information such as who is going to be closing the file for your team. And down here, you've got different options in terms of where fees should be payable to. And then you've got kind of a general fee worksheet that you're probably used to filling out, right? What's the fee amount? What's the name of the fee? And then you've got delivery instructions, right? Is this going to be net funded? Is it going to be delivered to the lender? Should it be delivered to the loan servicer? Is it going to get wired? You've got all different instructions that make sense that are typical. Once you're done with the fee dialog, and this is where we really built a custom system. So what you see here is a dialog where it's going to ask you whether you're a Jurasi attorney, and then you'll have this option here where it says, enter your password. So right now, the password that I'm currently logged in as is showing you is the attorneys here at the law firm see a ton of additional features. So you're seeing, for example, do you want interest accruing on the entire loan balance or only on the amounts dispersed at closing, right? Or non-Dutch versus Dutch interest. Scrolling down further, you've got a ton of different kind of special things to do. You know, is your borrower a special purpose entity? Is it owner-occupied property? Is it a cannabis-related property? So we've got a bunch of customizations. As a client of ours, if you're using our system, you may come down and say, you know what? I actually want to have this functionality. And if we've built anything, we want to be 100% customer-centric and customer-focused. And so we're happy to give you additional features at no additional charge. We just wanted to make sure we simplified the process because this tends to be items that a lot of our clients don't use all the time. And so we didn't want to clutter the interview interface. But here's where it gets really powerful is we've also built extreme custom conditions for some of our clients. So I can show you one, for example, is we had a client who wanted to build a lot of customizations. And so we do what's called create buttons. So you could say, it's, for example, I like your documents, but I really don't like this section in your promissory note. I really rather it read this every time. We would then create what's called a button. And the way the button works here is that we would come through and code all, we would say is once you toggle yes, all the same changes that you normally want are going to sit there. But then you can start building a ton of customizations within that. And so this demonstrates a customer that says where sometimes they want fixture filing, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want their sponsor to guarantee, they want their sponsors to subordinate to the debt, sometimes they don't. You've got a ton of insurance limitations. So for example, they wanted to specifically state what is the maximum deductible you can have, right? And it gave them the ability to include or exclude certain documents. This really shows you the robustness of the system and how much we can customize it for your very specific use. Then you go over here and you basically finish and complete the process. And so right now what's happening is it's assembling the documents in the background, and what you're seeing is literally thousands and thousands of lines of code is what this document looks like. And it's taking all of the content that we just pushed to it and instantaneously creating loan documents. So right now it's taking us right back to our landing page. I hit download, and just like that, it's created a perfect set of loan documents for you. And for those of you that have used Jurossi Law Firm before, these documents will look very familiar. It's our same closing instructions. Right here, you're seeing a list of forms that we've created. So here is dynamically, it is taking your interview and determine which documents to populate, which documents not to populate. Additionally, when you go down here, it's got what I think are best-in-class lender's instructions that are very clearly written, and takes the closing agent through a series of requirements, and then requires the closing agent to initial all the way through to make sure that they actually read your instructions. Towards the end here, you're going to start seeing the fee sheet. So here's all those fees that we talked about, right? Where are the fees going to be delivered, right? And how are things calculated? Going down, you've got all the standard documents we would include. And let me show you some of the stuff that we talked about earlier. So if you recall, we were talking about how the system was designed to be extremely robust and do the calculations for you. If you recall, we told the system that the document date was going to be September 12th, 2019. And we also said that the loan has a term of 12 months. It states here that the maturity date is October 1st, 2020. Okay. And when you start scrolling through and then you start seeing some of the additional functionalities, for example, let's go down to the payment reserve section. We told them that we were going to have 3 months of advance payments. And it states here that we will use this reserve to pay for payments for the period from November 1st, 2019 through January 1st, 2020, which means that you, borrower, will make payments starting with the fourth payment starting on February 1st, 2020. All you stated was the number 3, and it started configuring all these dates for you. And it provides this really tight product that you would expect from a law firm, even though you didn't use the services of the law firm. Going down further, you'll see some of the very interesting things that we've created here. So, for example, we talked about the signature blocks. And a couple of other points too is, as you've noticed here, they've got these initials, for example. This is areas where we took a lot of pride in ownership. Because this document set is signed by 2 people, it created 2 initial blocks, down here as well as here. If it was just one, it would have only created 1. We wanted this to look and feel as though an attorney had spent the entire time writing it, even though you produced it without using the law firm. Going down to the signature blocks, you've got the borrower, who is being signed by the sub-borrower, the LLC, and it's being signed by Michelle and Nema, right? A really tight and clean signature block. It's our standard promissory note that anyone who's used the firm would understand and appreciate. And it's got the entire form stack that you would appreciate and know by using our law firm. And so you can harness the exact same technology and documents that we have through our system. And it's very tightly written. So for example, if you notice, it's going to explain exactly who is signing. It produces additional language capacity certificates for every individual signer. When you get down to, for example, the document down here is a certificate of non-owner occupancy, which I'll show you in a second. Rather than just giving you blank text saying, oh, we're not going to use this property, it's not our primary residence, what we instead did here, and we want to be very intentional, was we figured out is, hey, we know that there's individuals signing it, and those are the people that really need to attest that this property is not their property. And this document, for any of you who have ever been sued about this, is going to be such an easy way to get out of litigation when you get that crazy borrower letter that you made a consumer purpose loan. This document, along with our business purpose certificate that's in our standard document package, is a really state-of-the-art type deal that really ends most litigation dead in its tracks at the outset. And you would just go on here and get, like I said, the entire loan document stack that you would be used to seeing from Jurassic Law Firm had they prepared the loan documents. And so it's that same power you can harness directly for yourself. And what's great about this system is that interview that we just completed, it's always stored there. So how many times have you gone to the closing table and all of a sudden something changes? Either, hey, look, I've got a typo. The borrower's name is actually not sample borrower, it's sample one borrower, right? Or I need to give this guy another $50,000. All you'd have to do is hop right back into the system, relaunch that interview, everything's saved for you. And you will always have access to your files. It doesn't matter on your phone, you could be anywhere else, you don't need to be tethered to your computer that you originated from. And all you would have to do is go right here. Let's say we'll up the loan amount by $100,000. Don't have to go through the rest of the interview dialogue. Hit finish, and then it goes straight back, and it's going to start spinning those fun wheels again. And all of a sudden, you go straight back, and you've got documents that are waiting for you that have perfectly configured all over again with your new amounts. You could have changed 10 different things. You could have added a borrower. You could have subtracted a borrower. You could have added a property. Doesn't matter how complex. It would be that instantaneous, and download your brand new documents just waiting for you all over again. And that's how fast the system is, and it's how we are able to operate as efficiently as we are as a law firm, and we wanted to give our clients the ability to operate as efficiently as we are. And the nice thing about it is, from the way we operate, was we didn't want to nickel and dime our customers. At the end of the day was, you're making one loan and you're getting paid one fee for that loan. And so we wanted to make sure that we partnered with you in that process. And so you will only get charged once, because from my worldview is you prepared one set of loan documents. It doesn't matter if you relaunch that interview and you had to change the loan amount 10 times, if the deal changed 15 different ways, that's okay. You're never going to get charged a redraw fee, because we wanted to make sure that we partnered with you in this process. So you close a loan, great, we'll get paid. And if you had to redraw it 15 times on your way there, that's okay. Still going to be a one-time fee. And so we wanted to make sure that we were really complimenting our clients and helping them in this process. And so that's really the system in a nutshell. As an administrative user, like I said, I'm going to see all the files in here. What you would see here is just your files, but you would have access to your files anywhere, anytime, and you could go back and change them after the fact. That's a real quick demo. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that you stuck through it. I hope you found value in this system, and we really look forward to partnering with you.